Let me ask you something that might make you a little uncomfortable. Your doctor, the person you've been trusting with your migraines for years, maybe decades, what if they were never taught the one thing that could actually set you free, get you to migraine freedom? I'm not talking about some fringe theory. I'm talking about something simple called neuroplasticity. It's your brain's proven ability to literally rewire itself. This science has been around since the 1960s. I mean, that's over 60 years of research. And here's what keeps me up at night. While your doctor wasn't learning about this groundbreaking, life-changing information, they were actually prescribing you things that made your problem worse. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could change everything that you thought you knew about your migraines. I'm Kevin Wissman. I'm a clinical pharmacist, or I should say, I was a clinical pharmacist. I spent years in the medical system, both as a patient, but as a clinical provider. I trained at the University of Kansas. I completed a residency, a fellowship. I worked at the VA here in the States. I was a true believer in conventional medicine. But here's the thing. I also suffered from debilitating migraines for over 20 years. And despite all my training, all of my access to the best medications, the best specialists, nothing worked for me. Not really, maybe just a little bit, but it always got worse when I really looked back at everything. It wasn't until I discovered what the medical system never taught me. They didn't want me to know about this. And it's how to actually rewire my brain. When I learned that, everything changed. And when I saw how deep the problem went, how big pharma profits from keeping you and me and all of us stuck, and how doctors are trained to prescribe but not really fix the root cause, that's when I walked away. I retired from my job. I retired from pharmacy altogether because I couldn't keep being a part of a system that was failing patients just like you and me. So now I help women break free from the migraine cycle using the neuroscience that the medical industry doesn't want you to know about. So let me show you what I mean. So let's first start with neuroplasticity. And I want to explain this like you've never heard of it before, because honestly, most people haven't. And so if this is your second or third time you've heard about it, I really encourage you to still listen in, because hearing things from different perspectives is so important and so powerful. So I want you to think of your brain like a forest, and think of your thoughts, your habits, your pain patterns, your migraine symptoms. Think of them like paths through that forest. Now, when you first walk through that tall grass, it's hard, it's painful, it's exhausting. There's resistance there. But if you walk that same path every single day, or maybe once a week, week after week, year after year, what happens to the grass? What happens? That path becomes a highway. It's completely barren. It's just dirt. It's easy to walk through. It becomes automatic. You don't even have to think about it anymore. And this is exactly what happens in your brain when it comes to your migraines too. Your brain, your body, your whole nervous system has walked this migraine path so many times that it's become a superhighway. The neurons, or your nerve receptors, they fire together. There's a really common saying in the neuroscience world that the neurons that fire together wire together, or the neurons that sync together link together. And that is what neuroplasticity is at its core. Your brain has literally learned to produce migraines. And here is the beautiful part, the good part. There is good news. And I mean truly beautiful. If your brain learned to create this pattern, it can unlearn it too. That's simple neuroplasticity. It's your brain's ability to forge new paths and let the old ones grow over, with the grass growing back again. Now, here's where it gets pretty frustrating. This isn't new science. The term neuroplasticity, it was coined back in 1948. I mean, we've had solid research on all of this since the 1960s. We're talking about 60 plus years of evidence that the brain can change, the brain can heal, the brain can rewire. So why doesn't your neurologist know about this? And this isn't me putting your neurologist, your doctors, or anyone down, or even yourself. I was in your exact same shoes. I was in your doctor's shoes, and I couldn't figure it out myself for so long. And the reason, the secretive reason why none of our doctors know about this is because medical schools don't teach this, at least not in the way that applies to chronic pain or to migraines. Doctors are trained in a model that over 100 years old, and it hasn't really changed that much. They find the broken part, they give you a pill or a procedure to fix it, but your migraine brain is not broken. It's not a hardware problem, it's a software problem. It's a pattern that got installed, and patterns can be changed. And to be clear, it's not the doctor's fault when only 4% of medical schools actually have a pain curriculum within their medical school teaching. And then you look at neurologists, they get about 2 to 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours over a 4 to 7 years of residency and fellowship training. I mean, they spend hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of hours training, but they only get a couple hours on migraine. Something's wrong here. But back to the neuroscience, your brain, it is not broken. A lot of people talk about migraine being only a hardware problem, a neurological condition you can do nothing about, but that is not the case. While there is some hardware or neurological issues going on, the bigger issue is it's a software problem. That's what neuroplasticity is. Software can be trained, or new applications, new coding can be updated in the computer, just like your brain can be updated with new coding or new wiring. The actual big issue, the thing that keeps us stuck, is that migraine has become a pattern that's gotten installed. And patterns, they can be changed. So many people say that you're kind of stuck with this. You always have migraines in your life. And if that was true, then why do 50% of people that come to work with us end up in remission? You can put this problem into remission, and then you can keep it in remission too. This isn't something you have to live with forever. And the biggest problem is that your doctor was never given the software update. Okay, I'll let myself calm down a little bit about my frustration with the medical education system. I have to tell you something that might be a bit hard to hear, but I care about you because if you're watching this, you or someone else suffers from migraines, and I know what that's like physically, but also just emotionally, how it steals our life. I really do care about you, and I care too much to sugarcoat this. While your doctor wasn't learning about neuroplasticity and brain retraining, they were prescribing you medications that were actually making your brain sensitive to your symptoms, more sensitive to triggers as well. So let me explain what's happening inside your nervous system. There's something in our whole body. Even though most of your symptoms might be up in your head, you might have some in other areas or vestibular symptoms. This is happening everywhere. And there's something called central sensitization. Think of it like this. Imagine that your nervous system has a volume dial, right? Almost like a radio. In a healthy system, that dial, it's set to a reasonable level, maybe a 2 or a 3. Normal sensations, they feel normal. Pain signals come through when there's actual danger, and you're not feeling the lights, the sounds, the fragrances, the pressure changes, the weather changes. You don't feel those. But when you have chronic migraine, or just migraine in general that's out of control, that volume dial, it gets turned way, way up. And then suddenly, light that doesn't bother most people, it feels like knives stabbing you in the eye. Sounds that used to be just background noise to everyone else feel like someone's jackhammering inside your skull, and you just want it to stop. Maybe you're even wearing earplugs at this point. Your brain has become hypersensitive. That is central sensitization. Now, here's where it gets even worse. Many of those medications that were prescribed for your migraine, especially when you use them too frequently. And I'm not just talking about the triptans. I'm talking about like over-the-counter medications that we were told are pretty safe to take. Those medications actually turn that volume knob up even higher. And over time, it can cause that volume knob to get stuck or broken in that max level. You've probably heard about rebound headaches or medication overuse headaches before, but it goes even deeper than that. The more you rely on certain medications to short-term, temporarily, or artificially block pain signals, the more your brain compensates by becoming even more sensitive. It's like, imagine you're in a room and you keep turning the lights down. Your eyes adjust, right? But they become more sensitive to light. So now when someone flips the lights back on, it's blinding. And that's what's happening to your nervous system. And that's not even an analogy or a metaphor. That is actual neuroscience happening through that example, because your eyes are very close to your brain and you have tons of nerve cells that control your eyes as well. The medications are turning, they're turning down the lights temporarily for you so that your brain then cranks up the sensitivity to compensate, because the medication's not fixing the root cause. And so the body is just trying to counteract this medication to wake you up, to tell you something deeper at a root cause is wrong. And so then think about it. When the medications wear off, what happens? You become even more sensitive than before when you didn't have the medication. So then you need more medication, and that cycle continues. It's a vicious cycle. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you or to bash doctors or even to bash medicines. I mean, I spent years as a pharmacist training, practicing. I dedicated my career, or at least a good portion of my career, to understanding the medications, how they work in the body. And most doctors are doing the best that they can with the training that they've received. But here's the truth. They are giving you a quick fix that makes you more stuck in the long term, makes you more sensitive, and it puts you in more pain, more migraine symptoms that become debilitating in the long term. It's really cool when we get clients who are healthcare providers actually come to us because the system failed them too. I think of one of our past clients. She was a physician herself, and she told me that her neurologist only recommended different dosages and different medications of drugs for her, which ended up just giving her a less than hopeful outlook of resolution. Another, she said that nobody's trying to find the root cause of anything. They're just like, here's a Band-Aid, here's a Band-Aid. And I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of getting thrown around or treated like a guinea pig. If that resonates with you, you're not crazy. You're not imagining this, and you're definitely not alone. So now you're probably thinking, okay, Kevin, I get it. Neuroplasticity is real. Medications they might be making things worse. So I'll just learn this brain retraining stuff on my own. I'll watch some YouTube videos. I'll read some books. I'll download an app. And look, I get it. I really do. But let me ask you something. Have you ever tried to cut your own hair? You can do it. The scissors are available at any store. There are YouTube tutorials. I mean, people do it all the time. But here's what usually happens. You watch the video, and then you think you've got it. You start cutting your hair. And then somewhere around minute 3, you realize that you're in trouble. But you can't stop now because you're committed. So you keep going, trying to fix it, making it worse, and eventually you end up wearing a hat for 3 weeks, waiting for your hair to grow back out before you can actually get to a hairdresser to actually fix the mistakes that were made. And so while that may have you smirking, if maybe you or a friend or a younger child of yours did that, there is some seriousness to that. Rewiring your brain is infinitely more complex than cutting hair. And the stakes, they're your life, they're your career, they're your family, your sanity. One of my clients they said it to us perfectly. I've tried every single thing possible. I mean, she'd done the research, she tried the apps, she read the books, and she was still suffering. Here's another way to think about it. Have you ever tried to learn a new language with an app? Maybe Duolingo or Rosetta Stone or whatever. It seems great at first, right? Like you're learning the words, you feel like you're making progress, but then you actually try to speak to someone in that language and nothing. Your brain freezes, the words don't come out. Learning a language from an app is hard enough. Now imagine trying to learn it without any guidance, with no app, no teacher, just you and a dictionary or a YouTube video. That's what trying to rewire your migraine brain on your own is like. You might make a little progress. You might be excited at first. You might learn some new concepts. But when you're in the middle of a migraine, when your nervous system is hijacked, when you need to apply this stuff in real time and do it correctly, you need more than information. And real true transformation typically requires guidance, expert guidance to be exact. And here's what I've noticed about the highest performers in any field. When you look at anyone, professional athletes, they're the absolute best in the world at what they do. What do they do as they get better and better and better at their sport? Do they fire all their coaches and say, I've got this now, I'll train myself? No, they get more coaches. Tiger Woods didn't win all of those majors and then decide he didn't need a swing coach anymore. He got better coaches, more specialized, more focused. Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player of all time, he had coaches throughout his entire career. Every single championship. I mean, the better you want to become at anything, the more support you need, not less. So here's the real question that you need to ask yourself. Are you looking for a little migraine improvement, like a 10% reduction or slightly fewer bad days? Or do you want to get your life back? Do you want to wake up and actually make plans without that voice in your head saying, what if I get a migraine today? Do you want to be fully present with your kids, your spouse, your career without constantly operating at 10, 20, 30%? Because part of your brain is always bracing for the next attack. And then the other part's just in a brain migraine fog after the attack. I mean, if you want small results, small effort might work. It really might. But if you have big goals for yourself, if you want the life you actually deserve, you are meant for, then you need to approach this like the high performer that you are. You don't do it yourself or the DIY your way to excellence. Nobody does. There's a really famous African proverb that I really love and live by. I come back to again and again. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think about the women that I work with, physicians who've completed grueling years of training, residency, medical school, teachers who show up for their students every single day, despite the migraines, despite the pain. Executives running companies, launching businesses, mothers raising families while battling through these symptoms every day. These are not weak people. These are some of the strongest, most driven people I've ever met. And they didn't get where they are by doing everything alone. They had mentors, they had teachers, they had coaches. They invested in expertise. One of my clients told me after going through our program, what I've gained is much more than expected. You tend to join thinking it's about the migraines, but actually it's not about your migraines. It's about everything else. Another, Lisa, she went from taking triptans 3 times a week, every single week, to have only taken 2 to 3 triptans in the past 3 months. Well, that's great. Think about the impact of what came from that. If she wasn't having to take triptans 3 times a week, every week, that's 36 days that she needed a triptan in 3 months. And now she's down to 2 or 3 in the past 3 months. She just got a whole life back in just a matter of a few months. And the cool thing is like her family started to notice that she was the happiest she's ever been in her life. Her friends were saying the same thing when she was actually going out to dinner dates. That doesn't happen with just a 10% improvement. That's a life transformation. So here's what I want you to really hear. Neuroplasticity is real. Your brain can change. In that migraine pattern that you've been living, it's not a life sentence. But the medical system wasn't designed to teach you this. Your doctor, through no fault of their own, was never trained on it. And the medications that they're prescribing might actually be turning up your pain sensitivity. And you've been fighting with this battle with one hand tied behind your back, maybe two hands, using the tools that were never designed to actually solve your problem. They were only designed to manage your problem. So you can keep trying to figure this out on your own. You can keep cutting your own hair and hoping it turns out okay this time. Or you can decide that your life, your health, your future is worth investing in properly. Because here's what I know for sure. You didn't get this alone. Whether it was stress or trauma or nervous system dysregulation, or even bad information from the medical system, all of that contributed. And you don't have to get out of it alone either. If you want to go far, go together. If this resonated with you, I want you to do three things. First, drop a comment below and tell me not what you learned today, because knowledge is not power. Action is power. Apply the knowledge, take action. So drop a comment, share with me, what are you going to start doing because of this video? I read every single comment. I would love to engage with you and support you that way. The second thing, if you really liked this video, whether it was the learning part or the motivational part, like and subscribe to our channel for more of these videos. This is what we are going to continue giving you and really supporting you along your journey. Third, if you're really ready to explore what brain retraining with expert guidance could look like for you, check out the link in the description of this video or even go to our profile page. We have a free masterclass training for you that goes deeper into how exactly neuroplasticity works for both your migraines and any of your other symptoms that might be popping up. And we also spend a little bit of time even talking about what it takes to actually rewire those patterns. And if you found this helpful, just please share it with someone you love who's suffering. They might not know there's another way. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care.